When we think of what it means to be truly great, what comes to mind? Is it about having tons of money, wielding power, ruling a vast empire? Well, today we're going to dive into a text that completely flips those ideas on their head. We're going to look at a portrait that's painted in paradox, revealing a historical figure whose influence came not from what they owned, but from who they were.
So right out of the gate, this text makes an incredibly bold claim. It describes this person as one of the last and greatest men in history. I mean, wow! A statement that bold really sets the bar high, doesn't it? It makes you lean in and wonder, what could possibly make someone that great?
So that's the big question, isn't it? How does this text define greatness? Well, it's not with some long list of achievements. It's through a series of really powerful contrasts, these paradoxes that paint such a vivid picture. So let's explore them together.
First up, we're exploring this idea of power without possessions. This is where the text starts to challenge our usual symbols of influence, money, armies, palaces, and it builds a whole new definition of what authority can look like.
The portrait kicks off with this really striking statement. He held no wealth. In a world where money so often equals power, this just forces us to consider a completely different kind of currency. And here's the paradox. His lack of material possessions is immediately contrasted with this immense generosity. So, what if true wealth isn't what you own, but what you give away? His richness was found in his character, not in his coin.
The text keeps going, he had no vast armies. This challenges another one of those traditional yardsticks of power. Historically, a leader's greatness was often measured by the size of their military. But here's the twist. No armies. Yet his name alone made empires tremble. This points to a completely different kind of power, one that comes from an idea, a message, not from force.
And the paradoxes just keep on coming. He did not dwell in a palace, so no throne, no grand halls, none of the usual symbols of royalty. You see, his kingdom wasn't something you could find on a map. It was in the hearts of the people. This marks a really profound shift, moving away from political leadership and into the realm of spiritual leadership.
And finally, to round out this section, he ruled no lands, no territory, no official subjects, no physical domain to his name at all. So why does all this matter? Because billions of people, past and present, have called him the messenger of God. His kingdom is a global community of faith that has outlasted countless empires. That is a truly staggering contrast when you stop and think about it.
Okay, so if his greatness didn't come from all that worldly power, where did it come from? Well, the text suggests it was his character. This next section is called the crown of character, where his inner strength became his ultimate authority, not gold or jewels.
Here we go with another amazing paradox. He was unlettered. In a world where being able to read and write is the gateway to knowledge, he simply lacked that fundamental skill.
And yet, his words and his teachings went on to change the world. It really points to a kind of wisdom that goes far beyond formal education, a knowledge that, as the text puts it, illuminated the world.
Now, moving from enlightenment to healing, the text states he had no medicines, he wasn't a doctor, and he didn't have access to medical remedies.
But what if some wounds can't be healed with medicine? The text says he healed hearts and souls, mending the kind of spiritual and emotional pain that no physical remedy can ever touch. Now, this portrait doesn't shy away from the complexities of his life. It acknowledges that he fought in battles, facing the real-world facts of conflict and struggle. But then, the text immediately reframes this with a really powerful counterpoint. Yet, his mission was peace. This highlights the huge difference between an action and the ultimate intention, a struggle for the final goal of peace.
Circling back to those symbols of power, the text is very clear. He bore no crown. The ultimate symbol of authority was just not there.
So instead, we get this incredible metaphor. His real crown wasn't made of gold, it was his character. His moral integrity was the true symbol of his leadership, what the text calls the crown of humanity.
Just imagine for a second, what could a leader with that kind of influence do to his enemies? Yet, the text says he sought no revenge. He chose a completely different path when he could have easily retaliated. Instead of getting even, he forgave even his fiercest enemy. And this is presented as the ultimate strength, not the power to defeat an enemy, but the fortitude it takes to forgive them.
And now we come to the final and maybe the most profound paradox. On one hand, he committed no sin, a claim of complete moral purity, and on the other, yet he faced the hardest trials, a life of immense difficulty. That contrast between innocence and suffering is so powerful. It suggests that maybe hardship isn't a punishment, but a test of character and a testament of faith.
So after exploring this whole portrait of paradox, we're left with this really powerful idea that true influence might not be about wealth or power at all. Maybe it's really about generosity, wisdom, and forgiveness. That the greatest legacy isn't what you conquer, but the character you build and the hearts you inspire. So I'll leave you with this. What do you think is the true measure of a great life?